Future Trends is brought to you by the Institute for Economics and Peace.
Welcome to the latest edition of Future Trends, the weekly briefing on the changing face of global politics, economics, development, social and conflict. Here's this week's headline stories. South Africa turns to China in wake of US aid cuts. Netanyahu vows to finish the job against Iran. New marriages in China at record low, and divorces rising. Italy's Meloni takes on the judiciary. Thailand considers building wall along Thai-Cambodian border, and genocide is declared once more in Sudan. Here's the latest stories in politics. South Africa turns to China in wake of US aid cuts. South Africa appears to be at a crossroads in its relationship with the US, following President Trump's decision to cut financial aid to the country for pursuing what he called unjust and immoral practices against the white minority Afrikaner community, and by filing a genocide case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. South Africa responded by setting up bilateral meetings to shore up support with other countries, including China. Thailand considers building wall along Thai-Cambodian border. The move is in response to human and drug trafficking. At present, 55 kilometres of the 165 kilometres border are secured with barbed wire, while the remainder consists of natural terrain, which may be exploited by Cambodians attempting to enter the country illegally or by criminals smuggling people or drugs. Romania's Iohannis announces he'll resign as president. President since 2014, Iohannis moved to avoid an impeachment. He was due to leave office after Romania's presidential elections at the end of last year. However, his term was temporarily extended after the Constitutional Court ordered a rerun of the vote following concerns about Russian interference. Argentina's opposition threatens impeachment trial after Milei touts crypto coin. President Milei could face an impeachment trial in Congress, opposition lawmakers said, after the libertarian leader touted a cryptocurrency which crashed soon after. Italy's Meloni takes on the judiciary, in echo of Berlusconi. Prime Minister Meloni is clashing with the country's judiciary in the same way her old political ally and mentor Silvio Berlusconi used to, promising a once-in-a-lifetime overhaul of the legal system. But whereas Berlusconi failed to impose his will on Italy's fiercely independent magistrates and prosecutors, Meloni could yet come out on top, unburdened by conflicts of interest that dogged her billionaire predecessor. Now to updates in conflict. Netanyahu vows to finish the job against Iran. The Israeli Prime Minister was speaking alongside US Secretary of State Rubio, visiting Israel in his first official trip to the region. US intelligence agencies recently warned both the Biden and Trump administrations that Israel this year will likely attempt to strike facilities key to Iran's nuclear program, which they warned could increase the risk of a wider war breaking out in the Middle East. Ukraine forced to face tough new reality after Trump-Putin phone call. America is under new management. Ukraine's President Zelensky is joining a growing list of US allies who are finding that the world, according to President Trump, is a colder, more uncertain and potentially more dangerous place for them. At best, the US president sees the Ukraine as minor partner in the negotiations. India and US outline plans to deepen defense partnership. There was guarded optimism among military experts in India, as Prime Minister Modi and US President Trump outlined plans to ramp up sales of defense systems to New Delhi, including F-35 stealth fighter jets, to deepen the US-India strategic relationship. Genocide is declared once more in Sudan. More than 11 million people have been internally displaced since the fighting erupted in April 2023, according to the UN, while millions more have fled Sudan. Former US Secretary of State Blinken said that RSF and its allied Arab militias had perpetrated direct attacks against civilians, including the systematic murder of men, boys, and even infants, on an ethnic basis. Former Bangladesh government behind possible crimes against humanity. A UN inquiry finds ex-Prime Minister Hasina oversaw a systematic crackdown on protesters, killing up to 1,400 people in bid to hold on to power. Turning to economics. How will European budgets cope with funding their own defence? Europe's leaders have long known the region is living beyond the means of its ageing, stagnant economy. Now that the continent's once staunch US ally declared it was done paying to keep the peace in Europe, it must now shoulder the cost of its own defence, right at a time when on its eastern flank Russia is waging war with Ukraine. That risks blowing apart budgets already struggling to fund welfare states that are often seen as the envy of the world. Honda-Nissan multi-billion-dollar merger collapses. Honda and Nissan had wanted a merged entity to help fight competition from rival firms, especially from China. Japan to increase nuclear power. Prior to the Fukushima disaster, Japan had 54 nuclear reactors, providing nearly 30% of the nation's energy. After Fukushima, it shut down most of its reactors, but has now set a target for nuclear to provide a 20% share of the nation's grid by 2040. And India and France are planning on working together to develop small nuclear reactors, which will strengthen energy security and transition towards a low-carbon economy. China's Xi holds rare meet with tech leaders amid US rivalry. President Xi urged some of the biggest names in China's technology sector, such as Alibaba founder Jack Ma, to show their talent and be confident in the power of China's model and market. The pro-business rally, a turnaround in Beijing's approach to its tech giants following a regulatory clampdown, reflected policymakers' concern about a slowdown in growth and efforts by the US to limit China's technological development. VC funding in European defence and security tech surges to a record $5.2 billion. Big funding rounds for software developer Helsing and drone maker Takiva defy broader downturn in venture investing. Moving to stories in development. Dominican Republic accelerating Haitian deportation. President Abinada has started his plan to deport 10,000 migrants a week, Haitians specifically. Haitians claim to be subjugated to abuses during the deportation process, all while they cope from being separated with their families from the middle of the night. The country's most affected by extreme weather events. Between 1993 to 2022, Dominica, China, Honduras, Myanmar, Italy, India, Greece, Spain, Vanuatu and the Philippines were the countries most affected by extreme weather events. However, in 2022, Pakistan, Belize and Italy were the countries most affected. Over the same 20-year period, more than 765,000 people died worldwide, resulting in direct losses of nearly $4.2 trillion from over 9,400 extreme weather events. Food insecurity, malnutrition at an alarming level in Myanmar. Due to the collapse of social safety nets and the inability to afford specialised care, 55% of children in Myanmar are living in poverty. Many displaced families struggling to meet basic needs, and children with disabilities and their families are the most vulnerable. Armenia takes step toward EU membership bid. The government in Yerevan has been trying to distance itself from historical ally Russia. How AI is breaking language barriers in Africa. For years, language barriers have limited access to technology, business, and education across Africa. Now an AI-powered language model is making digital content more accessible to millions of non-English speakers by supporting indigenous languages. And finally, the latest stories in social. Breakthrough for longer-lasting batteries for EVs. US researchers have identified the root cause of degradation in lithium nickel oxide batteries. This could unlock the potential of this promising material for longer-lasting lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles, or EVs, energy storage systems, and other electronic appliances. New marriages in China at record low, while divorces are rising. This is despite sweeping government efforts to encourage young people to marry and have babies to halt demographic decline in the world's second-largest economy. Some 6.1 million couples registered their marriages in 2024, a fall of 20.5% from 2023. Buddha Bot. It's AI for Buddhism. Some 200 monks will test Buddha Bot Plus, a generative Buddhist dialogue AI, created to offer in-depth explanations of Buddhist teachings. Built on advanced deep learning models, it generates high-quality responses by analyzing data from ancient Buddhist texts. Hundreds of foreigners freed from Myanmar's scam centers. More than 250 people from 20 nationalities who had been working in telecom fraud centers in Myanmar's Karen state have been released by an ethnic armed group and brought to Thailand. Uganda battles new Ebola outbreak and vaccine hesitancy. Amid a sixth outbreak of Sudan Ebola virus, Ugandans are frustrated by a lack of official communication and fears for the economy.
Future Trends is brought to you by the Institute for Economics and Peace.